So the first three problems on the homework ask us different sets of directions. And so the first one asks us to, without graphing, tell whether a point is a solution of an equation. And the same thing would be said if it was on the line, is another way to represent that. Is the point a solution or on the line? So you just take the x value and you take the y value and you substitute. And you see if it equals 6 in this case or not. And so we go ahead and do that substitution, and here's what we've got. We'll rewrite our 12 being multiplied by x. Well, x is 2, so that's the number that we put in there, plus 3 times by the y value, negative 4, and see if it all equals 6 or not. So go ahead and do some work there, and 12 times by 2 makes 24. 3 times by negative 4 makes a negative 12. And nope, these numbers subtract to make 12, not 6. So when the number is not the same, that's when you say no, the point is not on that line. Well, this one's very similar, just dealing with fractions this time. 6 again goes in for x. And make sure you're careful. Sometimes they have the y term first, and that's where people get confused. They're so used to just putting the first number in the first spot. Well, be very careful. If it says y here, that means that we put the 18 there rather than the 6. So in this case, we'll go ahead and do that substitution. We've got 2/3, and since we're multiplying a fraction, let's go ahead and treat 6 as a fraction as well. 6 over 1 is what we'll write there. And same thing with the 18. We got 1/3 times by y, which is 18, so let's treat that 18 as a fraction. 18 over 1, and then do the work. And so here we got 3 into 6 goes 2 times. Multiply across, we get 4. Over on this side, 3 goes into 18 6 times. Well, 6 minus 2 makes 4 as well. And so yes, this point is on that line. So the numbers disagree, you say no. The numbers agree, you say yes. Well, that's the first problem. The second problem asks us to find intercepts. And so we got to find both of them. So let's start with that x-intercept. When we find the x-intercept, remember you are going to set y equal to 0. So you're canceling out that y term. All you have is 2x equals 8. So just one step there will get you the answer. Divide by 2. And there it is. X is 3. Now, some people are writing this as an ordered pair, the x term and the y term. This is the ordered pair for this term is 3, 0. The y value is 0. The x value is 3. So there's 2 points you're finding when you're doing these problems. Well, for the next one, the y-intercept is when we're going to set x equal to 0. So go ahead and set x equal to 0. All we have is that y term, negative 4y, and it equals the constant. And so you've got one step of dividing by negative 4, and we get our answer. So there it is. We've got a y value of negative 2. So remember, this is a separate point. And so this point is 0, negative 2. Notice there's 2 points here. We've got 1, 2. Do not write it as 3, negative 2. Do not do that. That's wrong. I see that quite often. But that point is not even on the line that's represented by this equation. So we got 2 separate points here that we're trying to find. Next one, same sort of thing, x-intercept. So when you go ahead and set y equal to 0, and so we do that. And a common mistake again on this type of problem, people divide by 2. That's not what we do. See, we're going to divide by a half, which is the same thing as multiplying by 2. We don't divide by 2, we're multiplying. See how those 2's cancel out? So what's left over? Well, what we have is we have x equals 32. So that's our point, 32, 0. That is one of the answers. Well, we still have to find the other intercept. So we're going to find that y-intercept next. The y-intercept is when you set x equal to 0. So let's go ahead and do that. And so when we do that, what we've got left, well, no x terms, so it's just 2y equals 16. Here's where you're going to actually do the division. Here we divide by 2, and we have y as 8. So there it is. The point is 0, 8. So remember, 2 answers, not 1, for the x and y intercepts. Then we have, way over on page 317, it's going to ask us to write an equation. So remember, when you're going to write an equation, given 2 points, we first need to find the slope. So remember, the slope formula goes this way: y minus y1 over x minus x1. It's the difference of the y's over the difference of the x's. So let's take a look at the y values. That's these last two numbers here. So we have 2 minus negative 23. Now let's take a look at our x values. X values are the first numbers. Since I started with the 2, I got to start with the negative 1. Negative 1 minus 4. So when we see that minus negative, quickly change that to plus positive. Change this other one to plus negative, and rewrite what we've got. So here we've got a 25 all over negative 5, and that's going to reduce down to just negative 5. So we find the slope. Once we have the slope, then we're going to use the point slope formula. And all we need is one of the points, not both now, and the slope. So we go ahead and take a point. Let's take this point right here. So we go ahead and plug that in there. We got y minus 2 equals negative 5 times by x minus negative 1. So anytime you've got that minus negative, quickly change that to plus positive and distribute. Let's see what we've got left over. So now we've got still that y minus 2, and now it equals negative 5x minus 5. So one final step there, and we'll have our answer. Just got to add the 2 to both sides. And when I do that, we've got to subtract, because they're opposite in sign, and we get our answer. Y equals negative 5x minus 3. There it is. Well, one more example like that. Here again, we're going to find the slope of the line. So we take our y values. So the y values in this case are the 1 and 3. So 1 minus 3. And then we take the difference of the x values. Remember, those x values are the first numbers, 1 and negative 5. So 1 minus negative 5. Whenever you see that minus negative, change that quickly to a plus positive. And I'll change that to a plus negative, and we've got negative 2 over 6. Well, this is a fraction. A lot of people are going to write this as 3 or even negative 3, but that's wrong. See the bigger numbers on the bottom. So what you need to do is reduce it, and it makes negative 1/3, and that's the slope we're going to end up using. So we use it in the point slope formula. So let's take one of the points. I'll take this one right here. So y minus 3 equals, and then the slope, negative 1/3 times by x minus negative 5. So again, anytime you see that minus negative, right away change it to plus positive, and then distribute. So what do we have left over? Y minus 3 equals negative 1/3 x. Now here, negative 1/3 times by 5 over 1. No cross canceling. So we end up with a fraction, negative 5/3. So we're going to use this fraction in the form that we've got it. And what we need to do is now move that 3 over that's next to the y term. I need to add that to both sides. So instead of putting a plus 3 right here, we got to come up with a common denominator. Let's take a look at 3. That's the same thing as 3 over 1. Well, 1 still is not the same number as 3, so I need to change this 1 so it's a 3. So I'm going to multiply it by 3 over 3, which makes 9/3. 9/3 is the same thing as 3, and that's the number I'm going to put here. Now I can collect these. Again, all you're doing is you're changing the numerator. Keep the denominator the same. And so our answer is going to end up being y equals negative 1/3 x plus 4/3. So sometimes you get answers like that where they just don't seem to work out so well, but that's the way this one is. So I subtracted these two numbers. Negative 5 plus 9 makes positive 4, and it's always over the same divisor. Well, part 2, we'll see the other types of problems.